we started a month ago. Basically, part one, for those of you that wasn't part of the initial meeting, hopefully you got a chance to see the link for the first part in a video that was recorded. But if not, then don't worry about it. We'll recap really quickly what that is, and then because today's part two session basically goes right off of part one. So in this two-part series, the first time we did this, we talked about basically essentially this talk is about breaking down QA keywords in job descriptions and resumes. So in part one, we went through two different real job orders that whoever's talking, can you mute? Okay. Sorry, I had some static there. So we'll get right into it. The first part of last time was we went through two different job orders of QA roles that are real job orders in Bullhorn. And then what we did was we went through an exercise of identifying what are some of the keywords in the job orders, and then we went ahead and filled it out together in a separate sheet, some of the words that jumped out to you, and possibly even a bill rate that was expected. So today we're going to do the same thing. We're going to review the same orders that we did in part one, and this time we're going to look at it from a candidate's resume perspective. And you're going to pick apart some words in the resumes, and we'll do the same exercise. Okay, so the first one, this is a recap. The first one we did last time was was this position, mobile device tester, and you guys can see this is real job order number 125057. And for those that you guys recruited for this, save your answers because I know you guys would have already answers, but certainly help other folks with keywords. But what we did was we went through this job description and we picked out a bunch of words that was relevant. And as a result of this, of looking this over, we came up with this chart of terms. So let's go over this one really quickly. So we know, again, back to the first page, this is a mobile device tester, and this was the job responsibilities and functions of the job. In summary, what you guys told me was that the first column was what industry does a position like this would make sense, would be relevant in. And you guys mentioned, oh, a mobile device tester is important in gaming, could be in telecom, could be healthcare, retail, banking, basically anyone that has a mobility play, right? And digital marketing initiative. Second column, we talked about out of the job, what types of functionality in there would be relevant for someone doing this doing this operation. And after analyzing the job order, some of the keywords that came out was test planning, manual testing, black box, SDLC, software development lifecycle, documentation, test regression cases, logging defects, and troubleshooting. So these are all the terms that you guys feel were the most, were some of the ones that jumped out of you when you looked at the resume. I'm sorry, the job order. And then lastly, out of the job functionality and industry, what are some skills that the ideal candidate that we'd want to find to be able to work in this industry, for this particular role? And the terms you guys came up with that you analyzed were terms like analyzing issues, must be able to not have knowledge of device testing, experience in the industry, so say gaming, for example, SDLC, which is also a job functionality, experience with tools and platform, and troubleshooting. So as you can see, a lot of these are consistently across the board the same thing. If you have the functionality, you should be able to do the work. And lastly, we ended up with what's an estimate of a bill rate range for a job like this. You guys said about $40 to $60. Okay, everyone with me so far? Okay, ring a bell to most of you? Good. Okay, so let's go ahead, and now that we've got this job order entered, now let's play the role of the second part of the exercise, which is let's find the right candidate for this position. And this is where recruiting, you guys get to chime in and help out too. So what I've done is I've taken two resumes that I've randomly selected online that were actually, these are actually submissions for that particular position. So some of them were rejected, some of them went through. But let's just take this exercise. So here's a real person, name is fake obviously, but here's a real resume out there. And I want you guys, what you want you guys to do is we'll look through this, and you guys will read on your own, and don't start yet. But you're going to look at these resumes. We're going to do this 4 times because we're going to do 2 resumes for this job and then 2 resumes for the next job. And what we're going to do is do the same thing. We're going to go to this page and we're going to fill out Guess what? The same type of columns. What industry does this has this person worked in? What types of functionality and in the role that they've performed? So have they done scripting? Have they done agile? And then what are some key skills that would potentially be relevant for this particular role? Okay? Any questions? And we're going to do this together, guys, on the call, so feel free to just collaborate. So take about 30 seconds to parse through this resume now, and then we're going to go back to this page, and then we're going to fill this out together. Okay? I'm going to start with the first column, industry. Here you go. Okay, I'll give you guys about 10 seconds left. We'll come back to this, too. It's not like you have to memorize it. So. Okay. All right, time's up. So what are some terms in here, in the industry terms, that this person has particularly worked in? Just shout them out with you guys can, if it makes sense to you.
Well, Tony, one thing I see is regressed. So down on that bottom line, so he regressed more than 300 defects, so he's done regression testing.
Okay, so that's actually something we can add to this one. So thank you. Let's take it one step. What industries? What do you do regression testing in? What has he touched? What markets and areas, and and the businesses could give you some.
Well, if you're seeing AT&T, that it's telecom for one.
Thank you. Telecom.
Technology.
Okay, good. Yeah, I mean it's not obvious, but it is obvious. Technology, right? Technology sector. Anything else? What are some of these things I'm going to make you tips?
It says storefront migration, so is it e-commerce?
Yeah, yeah.
Gaming.
Gaming, thank you. How about like just software in general, right? I mean, he touched hardware, but really software would be in some of this. The title right here, software testing. He's not a hardware test engineer. Okay, so you can see there's you can see a pattern, right, of where he is. He's not going to be someone that has played around with insurance or medical devices or anything, but he seems to be more in the gaming and the software industry and web too, as you can see. Okay, next section. Tom jumped ahead a little bit, but what are some functionality terms and areas that he had performed in his jobs that we call out?
He's wrote and executed test plans.
Good. Right, there it is.
The verification.
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 Okay.
He's done
Real quick.
He's done cross-browser testing.
Actually, I'll put that here. That's more of a. But you're right. Actually, it could live in both. So I'll do both. Oops. Cross browser. I heard a question on the call.
Oh, that was me. It was Kristen. So the storefront, is that like an e-commerce specific term? That's something I'm not getting right now. When I saw, oversaw the storefront migration, is that like indicative of e-commerce? Because that's what was that, yeah.
That's a great question. Yes, I would say generally, what happens is I don't know what core dev is, which is, this is why when we look at people's resumes, we do want to do some investigation on the company.
Yeah, we either know it or we don't. Right? Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a good point, but something like this, it's essentially going to be more whenever you see the term migration, it's either something that was existing on one system and needs to move to a second system, or something that needs to be, well, it's going to be moving from one to another, right? That's just the term. That's what migration is. But really, the storefront is typically going to be some data storage, whether it's on a website or it's in a SQL database. In this case, it's a SQL database. You mentioned Oracle 2.0, so I have a feeling that their application was running on a different database system, and the testing had to do with that person making sure all the data is validated when it moved over. When the developers wrote the code to move all the data over, he had to go in there and do some validation. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
So I'm going to add that to that. So migration. Let's call that migration testing, Gus. You call that a good one. Migration testing of the databases. That's what it is. What else?
One question about the migration testing of database data.
Yeah.
Can we call that as validation? Because whenever it comes to anything that has to do with data, testing it or maybe testing it or
absolutely.
making sure that we have the correct data, can we call it validation, or is it strictly called as migration testing?
No. It can be both. It's interchangeable. When you test migration, you're testing the data is validated, right? So you're right. Validation testing. The reason why I call it migration testing is typically because that's what developers do. They're doing migration work, and then when you say I'm doing migration testing, you're typically speaking in the same context that a developer is asserting their job functionality. And the validation also is very general. I validated this data after it came, but I also validated, specs, right, and validated business requirements. So validation can be done, but validation is a form of verifying. Well, verification and validation is actually different terms, but validation is making sure the business requirements is correct. So to your point, it actually could be interchangeable with verification testing of database as well.
Okay.
Okay. Other job functionalities that we can pick from here.
Reporting defects.
Reporting. What's the other one, Ruchika?
Writing or logging defects.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, good. All right, so let's move on because we have a couple more to cover. So, what are some key skills identified that in his resume that jumps out to you that would potentially be a fit for this role, this mobile device testing role?
SQL.
SQL, okay. So SQL experience.
Test cases for iPhone and Android.
Okay. Mobile test cases. What are some key skills? What else?
Quality center.
Okay, so you're looking at the tools now. So yeah, quality center. And by the way, someone quickly say what quality center is and why that's important?
It's an automation tool.
Test management tool.
Right. Okay. So yeah, so I guess to that case, other test tools, right? Identified in there would be important. Because sometimes when we look at job orders, they have a very specific set of test tools they want you to have experience with. So other times it's just very general. You had tested things in Java test tools? So having when we look at resumes, if we know the job order has a very specific job tool term, then we want to call that out and look for it specifically. If we don't, then it's more generalized. We can look for other accompanying tools that are in that same tool set. In this case, it doesn't. This job description doesn't actually tell you specifically what tools they use. So you have much more flexibility when you're reviewing test resumes on the type of tools that would be used for things like tracking defects and such. Okay. One more skill someone can give me?
Well, I know all my time at Cisco, we always had to find the TCP/IP. That was huge, just the networking aspect of it. It just depends what you're looking for, but like that's the person I would have called on many of my first testing jobs over at Cisco.
Yeah. Yeah. So to Debbie's point, right? That they have that as a pretty important requirement for that type of job description. So if so someone like this, if you saw TCP/IP when you're searching for a keyword like that, you can try use that to group the rest of the resume and see if it fits in that context.
Okay. Defect tracking in Jira.
Good. Yeah, so that's very clear that he has it in there.
It's in the top. It's in the first job.
Oh yeah, the job description talks about it. Just trying to see if his resume actually called that out. Well, it doesn't say that, but it does say defect track.
It says created, edited, and maintained 300 test cases.
Thank you. There it is. There it is. Thank you. Okay, great. So it's actually more than just defect tracking. Also, let's call create test cases. Creating test cases, which is different than mobile. This could be execution or creation. Mobile is more the platform, whereas creating test cases is. Okay, cool. So as you guys can see, right, an example like this is pretty complete. Like you pull out a resume, you map that to the previous, which is what we have the job description, and you see how close you can map. And in general, I think if you hit about 70% of the skills and the functionality to the job, you're probably on the right track. And then that's where at that point, really, let's get together and put a of course, you're going to have to ask about the bill rate range, the pay rate range. So let's talk about that. What do you guys say? What's a range for a tester like this? Given that last time we've estimated a $40 to $60 bill rate range was appropriate.
For an automated tester, a bill rate range of 40 to 60. This is Kim in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good job, Kim. This is not an actual automated tester role.
Oh, okay. I just saw that the guy had Quality Center.
He did,
so I assumed he had QTP.
Yeah, so you missed the last one, I think. But when we talked about when we did this exercise, we decided that the range for this particular role, which is a lot more manual testing, was around 40 to 60. So if that's a clue to what the bill rate range is, what's a good pay rate range that we would offer to someone with this resume, this background?
25 to 30.
Anybody disagree?
You could go up to 40.
40. Okay. All right. Sounds good to me, guys. I think we tackled this one pretty well. Let's go ahead and move to the next one. So I'm going to skip this one, just because we have time for one more. So let's go over to this one. Okay. So we also did a recap of the second job that we did on the call, last call, and this one was a performance automation engineer role. Take a minute to look this over. Actually, I'll just recap it for you. But we'll glance at this again, but really, we'll jump right to the keywords. So, for those that you guys remember, this job order basically comes down to these areas. Okay. So in summary, industry, it could be anything that has to do with products that's not necessarily a service, telecom, retail, healthcare. So it's really across the board performance testing role. Some of the functionality that this job will perform is you need to work in an agile environment. Test-driven development was something called out as one of the methodologies. Creating, can someone mute, please? Thank you. Creating automated test scripts here, that was pretty, you guys called that out as one of the things that was important to this role, and also performing exploratory testing. And then as for skills that would make that would fit a role like this, again, understanding agile methodologies, pair programming experience, so be able to work closely with development, meaning they understand architecture and how they're developing side by side. Communication was an important piece, strong communication. A degree, oops, oh sorry, move down. A degree of 2 or 3 years in the sciences, team leadership, and then documentation, tech writing, and the bill rate range was around $80 to $90 an hour. Okay, so let's look at this resume here, and this is a 2-page resume. So this is Jay-Z, and part 1 of his resume. It's kind of long, but I figured it was more involved in this job. Take a look at this again, and again, we're going to do the same thing, right? We're going to look at his resume in 2 parts, and then go through and figure out what industry has this person worked under, what are some of the functionality, job performance that he's performed, and what are some key skills in his resume that would fit this role. Okay, here you go. Take about 30 seconds on each page. Okay, we're going to go to the next page. Okay, so very technical resume. So, but don't let it frighten you. We'll break it down together, case by case, and we can get a final list like we did. So let's start off. What are some industries that this person has worked on that you guys noticed?
Financial.
Yep. What else?
Insurance.
Anything else?
Banking.
Yeah. And I saw one more you could call e-commerce B2B, basically, which is all the above. Now, why is that important? Because if we go back and look at this resume, at this job order, I don't think it says it here, but I remember this client is actually is an insurance company. So I think I took a snippet of the job responsibilities, but I'm not sure if it tells us here. Yeah, so sometimes we just set digital services team, which doesn't tell you much, but I believe though I did purposely leave the client's name out here, but this was actually an insurance agency. So in some sense, that this person's Jay-Z's resume is relevant to that industry, but that's good though. You can see that. The point here is you guys can see that he's touched a lot of more financial sectors. Cool. What are some functionality, job functionality terms that he's performed in this role?
Develop test strategies.
Job, Chris?
Automation.
Can you recall what kind of automation?
Data-driven.
customization and execution of SQL queries on the servers.
Okay. Actually, automation and data-driven queries is really two things. Let's do that. Oops. Sorry, mouse is a little sensitive. Here's one of Selenium. So to add on to what Rishika said about automation, it's important at this point. Now we're going to drill down and start figuring out what they want, what their background is. We want to be specific to, if we're going to look at technologies, it's important to start getting a little bit more specific, right? Because someone is a Java developer or does a Java automation, they might not necessarily know PHP or Perl or Ruby, right? So, but if they've done web technologies, automation, they probably could know. They could probably cross-script Python and Perl. You won't necessarily know that by looking at this resume, but as you start digging into these resumes and you look at the tools they used, and you see enough of these, here you go, then you start realizing that, oh, this person is very strong with SQL, Java, Oracle. So this is these areas, for example, this right here, languages in OS, C, SQL. A lot of this is database geared toward databases and static applications, desktop applications. They're not so much web applications. They're certainly not mobile applications, but it gives you a clue that, and it makes sense because he's worked in insurance and payments and finance, and a lot of that software is back in B2B type of communication work. So this is something that when you guys are screening the technologies, make sure you drill straight down to figure out what they're doing. Oh, jeez. Any other job functionalities?
He's got Agile, Scrum.
I'm sorry, could you speak up a little louder?
So he's got Agile, Scrum. He's used Rally.
Okay, good. Okay, so there are some SDLC technologies in here that he has experience with. What else? Let's look at some of this side. Actually, not even technologies. I'm sorry, job functionalities, right? But that which does include technologies, but
he's done a bit of scripting as well.
Scripting as well, okay. Scripting will fall under automation. So programming and scripting, they're sort of two different things. One is more lightweight than the other, but essentially things like reading when you see these things, which he has all kind of mixed up, right? C and Java are programming languages, or Perl and SQL are scripting languages. Python, so you kind of got these all in one category. So you can kind of consider them all the same. How about this stuff right here, right? Manual testing, automation, black box, white box, regression. These are all functionalities of what he's done. We'll just throw all those in there. Okay. All right. So what are some key skills? That he's done in his job. Well, actually, you know what we did? We went through some skills here. I'm going to put it over here. Oh, no. We kind of got into his skill set. And even though they're kind of consistent across the board, like he's done automation testing. Sorry, guys. You can say he wrote test scripts in Perl, PHP, right? And then of course Perl, PHP. Do you see how these all kind of come together? If they have the skill set, so even though they have a skill set and they have done it, we need to figure out if they've done it in a working environment, if they've done it in a job environment. So when you guys are pulling these apart, you're looking to see.
Who the IP addresses type of thing?
Say it again, Ross?
No, I don't need it.
Oh, you're sorry, muted.
Well, type it in and bookmark it.
Ross, you're not on mute.
Oops.
I thought he was answering my question.
Don't speak with your mouth full.
Same thing.
Anything else that we can call out and key skills that that
He has quality center as well.
Quality center. Okay, so he has quality center experience. Yep.
He's got performance testing as well.
Aha. And guess what? That's what the job is, right? so thanks for calling that out. That's actually pretty key note that that's probably the first word you want to capture in your filter if this person has done performance testing, because back to the job itself, which is right here, right? The title of it is Performance Automation Engineer, and some of these functionalities in here is writing test scripts and testing against performance-related environments. So if you're going to go back and you're going to dig up their resume, you're going to want to find if he has done test scripts and reporting in a performance environment, right? So this key right here is what would catch my eye for this job. So as a SQL SQA manager, perform load tests and stress tests on web applications and SQL testing for e-commerce sites. That's something that should be highlighted, and we would call that out. So I'll just put that in there. Okay. All right. We're up on the hour, but quickly, bill rate range $80 to $90. What would a good pay rate range be for Jay-Z?
$55 to $65.
55, 65. Okay.
I think going up to 70.
Up to 70.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anybody disagree with that?
Tony, if we are going up to 70, then we should actually increase the bill rate, which is 90, which is not going to give us a good margin if we consider 90. So we should put that till 110.
110. Okay.
Thank you.
I like your thinking.
Nice.
I like your thinking. You want 70? I'm charging you 110. You want 55? We'll do 80.
How would you like a career in sales?
He's already doing it, isn't he? All right. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. I hope this was helpful. I will save this, and this recording will be put on the web and sent out to you guys. So thanks for attending, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, Tony.